I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, spring 2021. Vancouver real estate market continues to be ultra active, strong seller's market, very little inventory. People are hanging tight to the good quality Vancouver homes, whether that's downtown Condo or Mount Pleasant or Kitsilano or Dunbar. Detached, of course, is off the chains. East Vancouver, every neighborhood in East Vancouver, Mount Pleasant, Renfrew. You can go out further out, Burnaby. I hear the Fraser Valley is just absolute craziness. 30, 40 people trying to get in to see homes. They have to cut it off after 20. Many people aren't even able to view the home because there's just too much interest. So markets are ultra hot here. We all know that. The stats keep showing it. It is what it is. I mean, I've kind of was predicting it last year, that coiled spring effect I was talking about. And the cavalry really isn't on the way. There's very little new development going on. The developers are kind of been on the sidelines for a while. I think as long as interest rates stay low and inventory like this, it's probably going to continue on. Eventually the music will stop and the market will cool a little bit, take a breather, maybe go down a little bit, and then build up its stamina for the next leg up. That's how real estate goes. I think, as you guys know, I've been doing this for over 10 years. I think I'm one of the few bloggers here, and with the 30 plus years experience, I try and paint a really balanced picture of real estate. I always say that I have no clue what the market's going to do in the short term. The market could go up here, prices could go up another 10% between now and July. At the same time, something could happen with COVID and the government could step in with some sort of a restriction, who knows, and the market could go down 10% here in the next 6 months or 8 months. Who knows? But what I've always said is look at real estate with a long-term perspective, just like saving for retirement or investing in the stock market. You're not going to be able to time markets and have a crystal ball here on where markets are going to go in the short term. Just don't even bother with it. Instead, get yourself in a position where you're pre-approved, save the down payment, get qualified for the mortgage, hire a good realtor, and buy your principal residence and keep it. Keep it for at least 8 to 10 years. If you have to sell before that, that's okay, but keep in mind, if you have to sell after 2 or 3 years, with all the friction costs, the PTT and the commissions and the taxes, you may end up losing money in the short term because real estate is expensive to trade in and out of. That's why I always use the 8 to 10 year holding period. That always pretty much guarantees some profit or some capital gain on it. Solves all your problems. Time solves all your problems in this market. The longer you hold it, the better. And that's all that should matter to people. But now that we're in this incredibly hot market here for the last 4 months and it's picking up steam here, I've started to see what I'm going to call, and I've talked a little bit about this over the years, not much. I normally point to the negative doom and gloom, the pessimistic stuff that you always see in the media. And that's common. They're out there right now. It doesn't matter where the market's at. It's always another huge correction just around the corner. But lately, of course, when you get a real hot market like this, you get the reverse of that. You don't get many of these articles, but you get what I would call kind of a blind enthusiasm article, or maybe an irrational exuberance article on real estate. Now, I'll point out that these are still in the minority. For every one of these blind exuberance ones, let's call it, there's probably 20 negative ones. But lately I have seen a few, and I want people to be careful with these. I'll give you an example. I'm not going to name the publication. It's it's a national real estate publication online. And I don't know if this was a paid advertisement or not. It sure came across that way, but it was an interview with a Toronto realtor who sells pre-sales. And I had to cringe, really, at some of the stuff I was reading in this article. It was a, gold rush, fear of missing out, hurry, buy, prices can only go up. It was crazy. And as I said, I was cringing at some of the stuff this realtor was saying. And you got to be careful. This is the reverse of what I normally am slamming, which are these pessimistic doom and gloom, short-term, the market's going to crash type thing. This one was the reverse of that. It was saying, buy these pre-sales. You can buy several today with 10% down, so why not buy 2 or 3? It'll be built in 3 or 4 years, and by that time you'll be up huge. 150K, and then you can sell them all as assignments and walk away with 300 or 400 grand. Crazy. That's not the way it goes. It might go that way if everything goes in your favor, but there's a good chance it's not. I mean, what's going to happen if you buy 3 of those and the market goes down 10% in 3 years when you take the keys on it? Now you've got to close on all 3 of them, and you're going to have to sell them at a loss. So you have to be careful, and I saw several others here lately about people talking up the market, saying it's crazy, which it is. It's white hot. You know, it's buy now, because if you don't buy that house today, that detached house, it might be worth 200K more at this time next year. And maybe it might. But again, go back to the middle of the road fundamentals that I always preach. I'm big on buying your principal residence sooner rather than later, but if you're going to buy it, don't get into a fear of missing out strategy. And when you're going to buy it, make sure you can comfortably afford it, you've got the down payment, you've left yourself a buffer for interest rate hikes, which are, it can only go one way from here. I think interest rates are going to be low for some time to come, but leave a little bit of a buffer. And again, the big thing is, make sure buying a piece of property, or even for me, buying a stock, is like getting married. It's like a marriage. It's long term. 8 to 10 year minimum if you're going to pull the trigger on that piece of property. And if you think you're going to be buying it and then flipping it in a couple of years at great profit, and that's your goal and that's your strategy, do not do it, because it might not work out in your favor. It might, but it might not. So it's funny how real estate goes. As they say, these blind enthusiasm ones, I'm starting to see more and more of them now, that not just Vancouver, but Toronto, and I see a lot of these articles in real estate for Southern California and Manhattan's market. Florida is picking up. I mean, real estate market in North America is really on fire right now. It's booming coming out of COVID. So you're starting to see some of these blind enthusiasm stuff. Buy 2 or 3 pre-sales. Hurry now, because the way the market's going, it's going to continue going up here for 4 years. By the time you take the keys, you're going to be up 200. Be very wary of that. Stick to the basics that I always hear, the middle of the road. And that is that markets go up and down in real estate. That market could go up here on a tear for the next 5 years, or it could take a 20% turn. Who knows? But focus on the long term. Buy your principal residence, keep it, buy it affordably. You're not stretching yourself too thin, and good things will happen when you keep it. But all bets are off in the short term. And don't buy into you buy it today and it can go nothing but up. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. The last thing I'll leave you with is, you guys know I've often talked about all the properties I've bought over the years. We're coming up to 34 years since I bought my first property. I still own it. Half of the properties I've bought, and I'm a realtor and I've got inside knowledge and all that good stuff. Half the properties I've bought over the years, detached, condos, townhomes, have been worth less at some point after I pulled the trigger. It's usually in the first couple of years. And I've often said the longest I've ever held a property where I was underwater was about 7 years. After that, it was smooth sailing. By that time, the market took back off again, and you're also building up equity by paying down the debt. But the other half of the properties I bought, I got lucky. I bought them, and they never went below what I paid for them. They went straight up, and of course there's been some dips along the way. There always will be, but it never dipped below to what I paid for it. I mean, gee, I talk about it, my last investment unit in Mount Pleasant that I bought, coming up now, time flies. I think it's now 4.5 years. I mean, I bought that thing and it went on a rocket ride since. You know, these simple 1-bedrooms are up 250K since I bought them, and I bought a bunch of my clients into them. But I got lucky. We got lucky. The timing was perfect. So remember that. Markets go up and down. Keep a balanced approach to real estate. Don't fall for the over positive stuff. You know, the blind enthusiasm. You don't see many of these articles, but you're going to see more of them as these North American markets start to pick up. Be careful. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.